We are certainly glad that you've joined us here today on the Market Day Report. John Jenkinson here on this Monday. Let's go to the grain trade, find out where our markets are trading right now after starting the overnight about a penny higher, both in corn and soybeans. We're a penny higher right now in the corn, just about all the way across the board. May is up 377.5. New crop December up 3/4 at 403.25. But the rest of those contracts a penny higher. Soybeans couldn't hold on to the gains that they posted last night. May down 4.25 at 1024.5. November down 4 at 1031. Wheat market's been mostly mixed throughout the morning, with May Chicago wheat down 3, 460.25. New crop July down 3 at 474.25. July Kansas City wheat up 3/4 of a penny at 502.75. The July Minneapolis wheat down 6 1/4 at 599.5. For the cotton market this morning, we're mostly higher, with May up 27 at 85.74. New crop December 79.71, up 28. With us here in the studio right now, Chris Swift. And good morning, Chris. Good to visit with you here this morning.
Absolutely, glad to be here.
Getting off to a little bit of a weaker start here in the soybeans this morning after last night's a little bit of a gain.
Yeah, subsoil moisture is really heavy now. The rains got pretty much everywhere over the Midwest and eastern portions of the Corn Belt and soybean belt. So lots of subsoil moisture out there for farmers to get planted on when it finally starts to dry up a little bit.
What about the dynamics of this market now that we're getting ready to roll the calendar and get into heavy planting season? This report that we'll have out this afternoon from National Ag Statistics, there'll be a lot of information that this market's going to have to work with.
There will be, but I don't think that there's been much change in the planting of acres. I think that most farmers are pretty much set right now for what they'll do. We could see, if the rain continues, we'll see corn planting maybe shy off just a little bit more from some of the early corn that likes to be planted, but soybeans will benefit from anything that the corn market gives up.
And wheat market here this morning just kind of mixed. It's just kind of drifting along.
Yeah, it is. And interesting last night, knowing that all of Kansas got some part of rain last night, and then most of the wheat markets were up yesterday or last night in the session. It was interesting to see them up, knowing that they got some rain, and just kind of softer this morning as the general public gets to see what's happening.
A lot of eyes are going to be on that winter wheat quality crop tour that's going to be starting next week, or I guess at the end of this week.
Yes.
That will be something to watch this year, because I think they're going to see the tale of two different crops.
Oh, absolutely. I think there's a great divide between the two of them. And now, again, with the additional subsoil moisture coming in, that spring wheat crop will be even that much more important if they can get it out in a timely manner.
That's going to be the next thing, I think, is whether or not they can get the spring wheat planted in a timely fashion.
Right.
Will the trade be watching that closer as we get into May?
Yes, absolutely. I think actually all eyes are on it right now. And I guess the only reason is they're not allowing the wheat to go much higher. There's always some old crop wheat out there still to be marketed. So we still have abundance of old crop wheat to be marketed. Every time it pokes its head up a little bit, I think we get some willing sellers in the market.
Globally, we're still awash in wheat?
Still higher all the way across.
So still a lot of competition. We still got to get rid of some of this old crop wheat.
Yes.
and some reduced acres in the United States, but also we're hearing reports of reduced acres in other countries as well.
Yes, there's a report, I think this afternoon, the CME is going to provide on the Black Sea wheat. That'll be really interesting to hear what they have to say about that. So maybe next week I'll have some more information on that.
All right. Chris Swift here with us. Chris, always good to visit with you.
Yes,
I want you to hang around
Pleasure.
here. We'll talk about this cattle on feed report that we had out Friday and where the market's headed.
All right.
Well, so we want you to be sure and stay tuned with us as well. We're going to get to that on the other side of this break here on the Market Day Report. Well, the cattle market got off to a little stronger start this morning. Let's find out where we stand now that we are well into the day trade. We'll start here in the live cattle market, where April fats are up 83 at 128.18. June up 148, now just changing. Now up 153 at 105.25 after a low of 104.32. August live cattle at 105 even. That's up $1.20. Over in the feeder cattle market, it's May up 147 at 140.80. August feeder cattle are up 238 at 146.88. September feeders up $1.97 at 147.55. For the lean hog complex here this morning, the June contract is down 95 at 76.60. July down 107 at 78.95. August down 81 at 78.77. And we welcome back in here with us live right here in the studio, Chris Swift, Swift Trading. All right, cattle on feed report. Everybody that I had the chance to visit with on Friday afternoon, there was a lot of discussion. No real surprises in this report.
No,
it didn't seem like.
It really wasn't. It just shows we have a lot of work to do between the second week of May and the expiration of the June contract to converge that basis between the two. It's still really wide. A lot of work to do going in that, but the placement number being a little bit lower clearly skewed a little bit by last year's elevated numbers, but still a lower number with the April placements anticipated to be lower as well. We may begin a trend now of just seeing lower placements. 17 will be a hard year to replicate again for total numbers of cattle on feed.
Chris, I want to get your thoughts. We're basically, if you just take it at face value, 107%. So 7% over where we're at last year. Last year was, like you were mentioning, really a set-aside year. But is there a feel in the trade that maybe consumption would be up equally as much, that maybe we'd be able to absorb that 7% and keep things moving forward, or at least maybe hold steady in this cattle market?
Our demand is phenomenal right now. We have yet to see any slacking of demand to any greater than 1 or 2%, and we're missing so much that spring rush out there of the grilling season. And I think there's a tremendous amount of pent-up demand that will see that elevated inventory be consumed at probably a higher rate than the 97.05 that June represented a couple of weeks ago. Maybe not as high as the 122, 124 is what we're trading right now, but a meeting in the middle and still having good consumer demand. And looks like our labor force is hard at work right now, so it's get a little pretty weather out there, and I think you'll see things drop really fast in that larger numbers of the inventory.
You make a good point. Fundamentally, this market seems like asking another $2 higher for this week's cash, which maybe could happen. Certainly is justified. You know, we did stronger cash last week, $4 to $5 higher.
Correct.
Cutouts that we checked on from Friday afternoon were higher. The consumer still seems to be coming to the meat case, despite because they feel like they must have the expendable income.
Right, and a big load count. The box load count was significantly elevated last week, and that shows maybe kind of the grocery store a real willing seller right now. They're willing to accumulate beef in the grocery store shelves and try to market it to the consumer. And I believe the consumer has a lot of good choices out there, but now the disparity between beef and pork prices are so narrow at the grocery store. Beef really does shine as it's its favored protein right now.
Pork market a little bit weaker here today too.
Yeah, it is. Some basis trading going on there with the May contract close to expiration now. That only 2 weeks left to go, and about a $10 wide basis there. So traders are just working on that basis this morning.
But pork and beef are going to have to work in tandem now, aren't they, going into the summer months?
They will. There's going to be a lot of pork and beef production elevated this year. So hopefully a lot of bacon cheeseburgers out there.
And BLTs.
And BLTs, that's right. Absolutely.
Chris Swift here with us. Chris, always appreciate your input on the program. Always nice to have you here on set with us.